The day had started off like any other day. The classroom was abuzz with the chatter of students as they unpacked their bags and prepared for another day of learning. Suddenly, the intercom cracked to life, and the principal's voice echoed through the room. "Attention, all students and teachers. This is a lockdown, not a drill. Please lock all doors and windows and remain in your classrooms until further notice. Again, this is not a drill. This is a real lockdown." Panic and confusion set in as we scrambled to lock the doors and cover the windows. The atmosphere in the room changed from one of excited chatter to one of quiet unease. I remember feeling my heart pounding through my chest as I tried to stay as still and as quiet as possible, hoping that the situation would resolve itself soon. Then we heard it. The footsteps in the hallway growing louder and louder until they stopped right outside our door. We all held our breath, knowing that this was it, the moment that we had been dreading. I thought I was gonna die. The door handle turned and the door creaked open to reveal a masked man holding a gun. I remember feeling a rush of adrenaline as the intruder strode into the classroom with a menacing look on his face. His eyes scanned the room, and I was sure that he would spot me cowering in the back corner. But somehow, I managed to remain unnoticed as he walked around the classroom looking for something or someone in specific. The tension grew in the room as we waited for what felt like an eternity. The intruder seemed to be in no hurry to leave, and we all feared for our lives. I tried to focus on my breathing and stay as calm as possible, but my mind was racing with terrifying thoughts. Suddenly, the sound of police sirens could be heard outside, and the intruder quickly made his exit, leaving us all trembling with fear. I never got to know if he was caught. All I know was that the officers had checked the building and no one was there. I'm so grateful that I'm still alive. I was sitting in class trying to focus on the lesson when I heard the sound of gunshots coming from the hallway. My heart raced as I realized what was happening. Our teacher immediately sprang into action, locking the classroom door and directing us to the back of the corner. The gunshots grew louder and closer, and I felt a sense of hopelessness wash over me. The door burst open, and a masked man with a gun barged in. He scanned the room, looking for targets, and I was paralyzed with fear. I remember the sound of screaming and gunfire coming from other classrooms nearby, and I felt like we were all alone in a small little corner of the classroom. The shooter's cold, hard gaze passed over me, and I knew that I was in grave danger. The minutes ticked by like hours as we waited for the shooter to leave. I tried to keep my breathing steady and my mind focused, but my thoughts were consumed with the terrifying reality of what was happening. Eventually, he left, but I heard more gunshots outside nearby classrooms. Thankfully, he didn't shoot me or anyone else. The police arrived shortly after, and they had apprehended the man. He was armed and some crazy lunatic who had escaped from a mental hospital. I don't know how, but he had somehow managed to steal a gun from somewhere, and he thought a school was the best option to go use it. Our school didn't have any sort of security or anything because our school was in the rough part of town, and it wasn't really the securest school ever. I was in grave danger that day, and I thank my lucky stars I'm alive today. It was the last day of school, and me and my friends were deciding to throw a surprise party for the teacher. Our teacher, Mrs. J, was a very nice person, and everybody loved her in the school. So as we were sitting there in the class planning out the party, the intercom cracked to life, and the principal's voice echoed through it. "Attention all students and teachers. This is a lockdown. Please lock all doors and windows and remain in your seats until further notice." Suddenly, everyone started to panic. We were all used to a drill, but we were never used to a real lockdown. I had only been through it one other time, and that when I was 5 years old, which I didn't remember anything of. As my teacher locked the door, we started to hear footsteps running down the hallway. They got louder and louder until they stopped right outside our door. I held my breath, and the only thing I heard was the sound of banging on our door. Suddenly, the guy, or whoever was on the other side of the door, burst the door open by punching through it. And it turned out to be a student from our class stumbling into the room. His eyes were wild, and his body contorted in a strange way. We all recoiled in horror as we realized that the student had become possessed by something that was not of this world. The possessed student started to move around the class, knocking over desks and chairs and screeching in a demonic voice. We all cowered in the corner, praying for this nightmare to end. The minutes ticked by like hours as we waited for the police and emergency personnel to arrive. The possessed student seemed to be getting stronger and more violent with each passing moment, and we feared for our lives. Finally, the police burst into the room and subdued the possessed student. They had to taser him, or else he wasn't going down. But the experience had left us all traumatized and scared for life. We never spoke of that day again, but all the memories lingered in our minds, haunting us for years to come.